stated, my name is Bob Murray. I'm a consultant for a retail solutions consultant company called Claris. And we do a lot of different things. We basically help companies and retailers with a lot of areas. And my specialty, my focus has always been about customer engagement. I started in 1980-something working for a company that maybe most of you have not heard of called Chess King. It's changed a lot since then. Some of it good, some of it a little more challenging. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start off. Hi, I'm Kathleen McGing. I'm a mobile product consultant at Solstice Mobile. And what I do at Solstice is I help clients across industries, retail, banking, manufacturing, agricultural, all over, develop their mobile strategies. So clients come to us and say, what do we need to know about? Or we have this specific goal, help us meet it. So I help clients come up with their mobile roadmap, find those right moments to engage with their clients, and then implement their strategy.
George Fenling, Crate and Barrel. I'm Director of Emerging Technology and Technical Architecture. I've been involved in retail technology since the mid-'80s, mainly focused on store systems, custom solutions. Came to Crate and Barrel about 12 years ago to build out their new POS system and have evolved into a broader portfolio of responsibilities. Right now, we're very focused on mobile, obviously, infrastructure to support mobile POS, customer selling tools for the associates, gift registry, the dreaded O word, omni-channel, and all the ecosystem that goes around that.
And I'm Drew Davidson, the Vice President Design at Okta. So I run the strategy and design group. We do a lot of mobile work, from strategy to the actual development of applications and helping customers, our clients, figure out what their customers actually want from mobile and them.
So again, welcome. I'd actually like to do a little bit of an icebreaker here. I thought about passing out Red Bulls because everyone still seems to be a little asleep. But instead, we're going to try and do something a little different. First of all, I don't like to stand behind here because this reminds me of a cash wrap. And I also worked in hotels. It reminds me of a real big thing called a front desk. And so I'm really happy to see that the rest of the world has finally decided to move outside, and these will slowly disappear and become something else, hopefully less office space. But anyways, I'm just curious, from a show of hands, how many people have a smartphone? One. Okay. How many people have two smartphones? Three. Okay. And I'll ask this, four or more? Okay. It's interesting because, when you ask that question, there's a story behind why everyone has multiple phones, right? And a lot of it has to do with their personality, their roles, right? I met a person who actually was a temporary or a temporary CEO for 3 different companies. And so he actually had 5 phones. And the most exciting part about that conversation was I have 9 pounds of accessories that I have to carry around with me, because they were all different. One of the jobs I did a while ago in the 90s was I actually worked for Marriott. And it was a transformation of a small hotel chain that you probably heard of called Courtyard. And initially, the Courtyard by Marriott was interesting. It was designed for the business person, and no one thought it was going to work. How many times has someone heard that something is not going to work? And obviously, that one did. But I did have the opportunity to work with some really great people. One is I actually got to meet J.W. Marriott himself. He's about this tall. But he's got such a presence when he walks in, and he does walk around, or he did walk around at the time, and meet everyone. But he told me one thing. He said, if you can remember one thing to be successful, is that every person has a story. And that chances are they have more than one, because they have different things. They have a professional job. They're a mother, father, brother, sister. And getting to know people actually is really key to being successful. And so when we talk about mobile engagement, I think that's key, because a lot of times as mobility has evolved, a lot of people try to focus on pushing technology and solutions onto their consumers. And my theory is just that mobile engagement is about learning how to listen to your consumers. And then hopefully get out of the way and let your people have engagement, have stores and catalogs and e-commerce actually have conversations with technology that we put in place to empower them. But with that said, I'm going to ask the panel, what is mobility and what are some of the goals that you've heard from your company and your customers?
Sure, I'll go ahead and start that off. So for us at Solstice, mobility isn't just a smartphone, it's also the whole ecosystem. So it's the connected devices, it's sensors, because really what the goal of mobile is to put the right experience in your consumer's hand at the right time. People don't want to go looking for things. They don't want to search on their phone for that right experience. They want it very easily accessible. So for us at Solstice, when we're thinking of mobile solutions, it's all about how can we empower the consumer, empower the employee, and make their lives easier and just give them that great moment.
Yeah, mobile for us is, it's a new channel, but it's a different channel in that it really bridges all the other channels. So it enables more of a cohesive shopping experience for the customer. And it's also a very lucrative opportunity for the sales associates. We have really two different business models within our store. We have the traditional cash and carry, dishes, flatware that people walk in and walk out with. And we also have custom furniture experience. It's the big ticket order entry where it can be a very long selling experience. It becomes very personal. So two different types of selling models, two different types of staff, and mobile gives us a great opportunity to tailor the selling experiences for the associates, and also tie in broader enterprise support for the selling experience.
Yeah, and I think at Okta we don't know what mobile is because mobile is changing faster than anybody can figure it out. I mean, you've got the watch coming shortly. So really what we do is take the approach of making our clients very okay with the uncertainty that it is, backing all of that up with the fact that you're going to be able to measure and test and really figure out what mobile means for your company, because it's a little bit different for everybody, but there are the tools to measure and figure out what it means for you. So you always want to back it up with data. It's our philosophy.
Thank you. When we talk about engaging our consumers, how do we engage through mobility?
You want to start this one?
Sure. So engaging for us, typically people they think email and text and push notifications in an app. Those are almost all very stupid and blunt ways to do it. By stupid, I mean that they're good, but they're not very well informed typically, because usually the customers can't actually make those meaningful to their users. So the ways that we really look at are smaller ways to use push notifications are a good example of this. What are the one or two key values that you think your company or your application is going to deliver to the users, or from research what you know it is, and really focus on making those two work nearly 100% of the time, and like I was saying earlier about tracking the effectiveness of it, actually measuring the outcomes that you are, and then expanding out. Everybody wants to try to think engagement, engaging all of their customers and all of their segments, and I don't think anybody's really prepared to do that in a time frame that's realistic. So focus small and start there.
Yeah, similarly at Solstice, we don't look at it and say, let's solve this problem for everyone. We take a user-centered design approach. So we look at the personas that you're trying to engage. So if it's, millennials in banking, or, moms who are shopping, we figured out what that person is doing along their whole journey. So what are their motivations? Going back to kind of the omni-channel example of, I'm not on the desktop and I'm not a different person when I'm on my mobile phone. So we find those right moments to engage the consumer with where they are and what they're doing. And sometimes that's a push notification, if they're walking into the store and they're by something relevant. So we don't want to just send them a push notification because it's 11 o'clock and we do this every day. That's how you get people to be annoyed with your apps, and they're going to delete your app and turn off notifications, and you lose that engagement channel. So we want to make sure that however you are engaging with them is effective and not annoying, whether that's email or push notification, or just some contextual information in the app. So when they're choosing to reach out to you for information, that first thing that they see on the home screen is relevant to where they are right now and the information that they need right now. And I think Google Now and the Google Now cards are a great example of, engagement that way because it changes. The information they're giving you changes based on what you're doing at that time.
Yeah, it's really important, I think, to understand why the customer is engaging with you. Certainly in our business, customers will say be very gift oriented. Either they have an event, so they're creating a gift registry, or they will be attending an event and they want to buy from a gift registry, or maybe they bought a new house and they want to build out their furniture in in the various rooms. Or they're entertaining. They want to come in and buy what they need for the party coming up. So you want to be very cognizant of why they're engaging with you and tailor your message towards that experience. And you don't want to overdo it. We're very very selective, very cautious about how we engage. We don't overdo it with emails, texts. So we will. We're very opt-in conscious and try to tailor the experience based on their point of view. A customer or a custom furniture sales experience can go on for weeks or months. So there's an ongoing conversation or experience engagement with the customer where daily text might not be a problem, but once that experience is over, you want to be able to shut that off and tailor it way back and maybe go down to a couple of months, couple of weeks. Personalized towards what their buying habits have been.
Just want to add one thing. This is extremely practical advice. So if you have a mobile app right now, Kathleen and George both mentioned opt-in and notifications. The new way, I don't know if you've seen it, but when you prompt the user to send them a push notification on iOS and now on Android also, you only get one chance at that. If you do it wrong or out of context somewhere in your application, you lose that channel with them forever until they've deleted the app and reinstalled it, which very few people are actually going to do that. So one thing you can do is if you look at what Facebook's doing with Messenger, a lot of apps do this where they have two prompts. They have one that comes from the application and provides a lot of information about why you might want to get a push notification from this application. If the consumer opts into that, then you show them the actual one from the system. So it's just a little tip that'll really prevent you from getting those, losing that channel forever with a particular customer. Definitely should be using that practice.
Yeah, I can tell you from working with a number of retailers over the past 2 years that mobility is extremely personal to the consumer, right? So if you walk into a store and your POS terminal doesn't work, they forgive you. I mean, they may be upset, they may leave, they may go somewhere else. Same thing with a website. But, I mean, how many times has someone accidentally gotten a text where it's all capitals? You think they're mad at you, they're yelling at you, right? But what might be happening is they aren't paying attention, or the caps lock is on, or it might be a technical issue with the phone. Or how many people get yelled at because someone texts you and you didn't respond right away, right? So I can tell you that it's interesting, as retailers have been coming to me asking about mobile solutions, my first question is why? And they come look at me like, really? I go, and then the other one is, are you ready to listen and learn? Because what you have to understand is how you interact with your consumers on your e-commerce website, how you do in your stores, and even in your catalogs. Reactionary is okay. If things fail, it's okay. I mean, most CIOs don't like to hear that, but that's the truth. But when you come to mobility, it's real simple. You failed me. I drag you into the delete bin. It's gone. I go to the next mobile app because you're on my device. You're on my time, my personal space. So that kind of leads into the next question, which is how does mobility impact omnichannel? Sorry, Target.
Yeah, I would say mobility impacts omnichannel not only because it's another form of that channel, it's another screen you have to adapt to, but it also impacts it where it becomes more important to carry that experience across the user because there's so many different contexts the user can be accessing the information in. So when I'm at home on my desktop, I have a little bit more time to search. So if you don't quite remember everything about me or don't give me the right thing right away, it's a little bit easier for me to go and find it. Omnichannel becomes more important when I'm also accessing that information on my phone or as wearables become more popular. I'm trying to get that more quickly and on the go. So it's more important to carry my information across, but not just know who I am. Mobile ups the ante of omnichannel with needing the right context. So taking into account the weather, taking into account where I am, what time of day it is. events that are coming up, so that way you can show me to the right thing in your store, or you can give me the right piece of information right now. And that's why mobile makes omnichannel, more important to get it right.
Yeah, I think mobile really enables omnichannel. It keeps the engagement alive. You can start an experience on your sofa with your iPad or at your desk through a browser, but you can use the mobile to keep it alive through the day. It's the 30-second experience that lets you stay up to date. It gets you, if you ask for information, say from a store, a sales associate, you can be there when that information is ready, and you can act on it in real time. You don't have to wait until 5 o'clock when you go home, or until Saturday when you can walk into the store and engage with an associate. So I think mobile really completes omnichannel.
It's important to think of mobile also as its own omnichannel, because mobile is text, mobile is email, mobile is apps, mobile is mobile web. Mobile is the data that your company has being used by another application. So it means all sorts of things. Just like TV used to be a channel in its own, but now it's TV, DVR, on-demand, web, mobile. It's also its own set of omnichannel channels that are in there, and how to measure them. They're all different. All the capabilities and all those different channels are different. So make sure when you say mobile and you mean the mobile channel, that you either are talking about all of those different ones, or you're very clearly defining what mobile, which version of mobile you're talking about.
And I think to add to that too, lots of times we think of mobile as me, the user, you, the company, interacting with me, the user, and how I get the same experience across the devices. I think it's also really important to think of it as, how does my context translate to how you're interacting with me? So do your signs change? When I walk into the Marriott, do I get, a customized welcome? Do I, get shown where my favorite things are that I always, maybe I always go to the restaurant in the Marriott? Does it tell me where to go? It's how are your devices interacting with my information. It's what your associates have, what information they have that they can provide me with. So it's not just carrying the contacts across my devices, it's the whole experience. It's, what are your consumers' motivations throughout their journey, and how do our services meet those needs, so both on my device and what you can provide to me.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when I find that mobiles, and I like to ask questions about what's the mobile channel mean to people. I think one of the things that we've learned over the years as we've watched catalogs and stores and e-commerce grow is initially they were all separate channels, right? You could go to a website, buy something, and you walk into a store and find it's a completely different price. They didn't complement each other. And I think retailers in general and vendors have learned that to maximize consumerism, to actually engage your consumers, it's best if they complement each other. And to me, mobility is exactly that. It's a complement. How many people have an Xbox at home? Okay, my son, I can't get him off of Skyrim or something like that. He plays it all the time. Thank God there's like an hourly clock to it. But what I like about, what I found interesting about that was it has a perfect example of mobility in my mind. It's something called Smart Glass. Is anyone familiar with that? So Smart Glass is really great because not only does it allow you to see when your children are playing when they're not supposed to be playing, if they've learned your password and gotten in there and changed that. But what it also does is it can actually be used as a complement. And you can be doing something and actually learning more about the game. And I really enjoy when I look at mobile solutions as being a channel, but I think also when it really does pull all the other channels together and complements the consumer experience, I think that's really where the win is. When we look at other technical solutions across our channels like beacons, guest Wi-Fi's, and digital signs, what does that mean to the mobile engagement?
My short answer is we don't think anybody knows yet. There's a lot of experimentation going on and a lot of measurement based on that experimentation. And I haven't seen anybody that's really figured out what the killer use case is for beacons yet. There's a lot of talk, and a lot of it's centered around advertising and pushing people the right products or giving them more information about the products that's in front of them. But there's still a lot of technical hurdles to that. A good example is Apple they've kind of rolled their own very proprietary way to detect what close and far are. Android doesn't have a standard like that yet, and 50% of people at least typically have an Android phone in a store that probably doesn't even support Bluetooth Low Energy yet. So it's very in an experimental phase. You should be experimenting in it, but know that uncertainty that I was talking about earlier, that's very prevalent in those edge technologies.
And I think it's also hard because we don't have those ROI models for these edge technologies too. So it's not like an advertisement on the web where I can directly see how how many times you clicked on it and the revenue I got from that. With these edge technologies, it's harder to see the value because those traditional metrics aren't there. So you have to kind of find out, what are you really trying to get the consumer to do? How do we measure that? If it's something like a beacon notification, I mean, with iOS 8's interactive notifications, there's a lot more we can do with those push notifications. But are we seeing if they're liking this content? How does that help us get to know the consumer? What can that do? So finding kind of your own metrics for success and having a very defined hypothesis for your experiment will help us, help us move these technologies along further because we're seeing some sort of value on it, even if it isn't a direct dollar value.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's really unknown. We don't understand quite how to use it. I think one thing we do understand is it will be important, so it's worth investing in. We right now are tending to start out from the enterprise point of view, use these technologies to enable the associates and work with the associates. It's easier to control. It's less costly if you overdo it. One of the really exciting things in my mind with some of the new technology may be more around Wi-Fi, but it gives us a view of the customer that we never had before. Right now, when somebody walks into your store, you can count the fact that they walked in, and you might be able to identify them when they come through the POS, but you don't necessarily correlate the two events. But with tracking now, even if it's anonymous, you can learn a lot on about their behavior that you didn't know before. And without engaging the customer, without having to deal with the creepy factor of Big Brother, you can learn a lot with this new technology. And over time, it will become, I think, accepted and adopted, and be a lot easier to start engaging with the customer.
Yeah, it's interesting because I get engaged a lot on, I want to get rid of that cash wrap, right? Merchandisers go, I want to be able to sell more stuff. Please get rid of that office space. Please get rid of the cash wrap. And for malls, when you walk in, about 57% of your malls don't have cell phone reception that's strong enough to actually run mobile engagement. And it's real interesting. And of course, when you ask, Simon Malls and all the others, they go, well, we built these things to be tornado, proof and hurricane proof, and they were designed as shelters, and they're 20 years old. So it is interesting to see when you start talking to your companies about putting Wi-Fi in your stores, and you get to a store and you look up and you see like 27 other access points have all popped up, right? And then you start doing network engineering, and you start looking at how to make that work, and sometimes actually that's a little more challenging. A lot of noise going on. When you talk to retail companies, what is it that they're really looking for from the mobile engagement?
Advertising. They want to send smarter ads to people to ultimately convert them into purchasing. A lot of them, though, it was a great point brought up earlier about the legacy systems. A lot of them either don't have the data, or they don't have the data in a way that's consumable on mobile, that's usable by a mobile application. They don't have the API. They don't have the internal capability to really bring all these different systems together to truly do targeting well. It takes a long time to get that stuff up and running at most retailers. But advertising is what they're going for most of the time.
We see sometimes retailers, as well as we also work with CPG companies, they're looking for the data. They want to know, what are you doing in my store? How long are you standing in front of a product? They want to use that information for smarter advertising,
Yep.
But they're looking to really get to know their user, especially when we're talking to CPGs. They really want to know their consumer because that's their value. So, they see some of them see themselves as like a lifestyle brand, or a partner to their consumer, really being more than just a product on the shelf. They want to differentiate themselves. So mobile is a new channel for some of these product companies to differentiate themselves against those other products on the shelf and find a good new platform to message their consumers directly. So especially if you're a product company in the retail setting, you don't own that store space. So it's finding a new way to get information to the user in that store space. And then we see retailers wanting to work with those product companies, come up with a mobile partnership together because the product companies have great content to really enhance that in-store experience. So the retailers are able to make themselves a destination or that retailer of choice by creating these cohesive experiences with the product companies.
I think we're looking to drive more traffic to the store and increase the average ticket value once they're in the store. Trying to figure out how to use mobile to drive more traffic into the store is difficult. It's a lot easier, I think, to increase the ticket value once they're in the store, and especially if we can get to the point that we can identify the customer through a loyalty engagement if they've opted into the program. Much bigger opportunity there.
You know, it's real interesting when you talk to retailers and you talk to a CI who's just stepped into a role for like a 20-year-old retail company, and you go, well, I want to understand what my opportunities are. Can you help me build a roadmap? And I'm like, okay. So we go out to the field and we start looking at the stores and we start counting all the technology. So if anyone's been in retail for 10 years, and I started in 1980-something, it was a fax machine, a clipboard, a modem, a register that weighed about 150 pounds that you could drop and it would hurt someone, and that was it. Nowadays, you know, it's interesting when you start looking at all the rat nest of cables. You've got access points. You've got all sorts of technology that sits in the front that tries to monitor people. You're now looking at doing digital signs. You're looking at doing iBeacons. You're looking at doing, and on top of that, you've got two management terminals in the back because one of them is a SOX register. The other one is, so when you come back, you go, well, you've got 6 filing cabinets, 37 reams of papers, 37 binders, and you start going through all this other technology, and what you end up doing is building a puzzle piece. You mobilize the store channel, and you can do that now on a single device as opposed to having multiples, and then you make that puzzle piece fit perfectly with mobility so that your stores can interact with their consumers. I always like asking stores, if you knew 3 things about that consumer that just walked out the door, if you knew about that in the beginning of the conversation, what would that be? And as they should be, they're usually different. Usually there's 1 or 2 in there that are the same. But those are the things that we try to give in a mobile solution to help make the engagement better. When you look at consumers and the really limited space and how personal a cell phone is, what are consumers looking for in mobile solutions?
We're coming up with our solutions to really empower the consumer and engage the consumer. What we're looking at is what are their goals, and we're asking what the consumer's goals are, because the mobile solution needs to help them do something better, faster, cheaper. I mean, the consumer wants something quick, they want something accurate, and they also want something just for them. And because like you were saying, the mobile device is their personal device. You know, if you're sending them content, especially in the store on their mobile device, they want it to be personalized for them and their needs at that moment. Otherwise, you might as well be putting it up on a sign in the store. So we're helping consumers meet their needs at a specific point in time, and mobile is a great way to do that because we have the context of what the user is doing, some profile data on who they are, and you know, these smartphones are powerful devices to really help them do something better.
Yeah, I think it's pretty basic in our experience. It's the customer wants to know, do you have the product I'm looking for? Do you have it in stock? How much is it, and how soon can I get it?
Yeah, it definitely comes down to the value that you're looking for, but I think it's, in a lot of these kind of questions and conversations, what gets missed is the people spend a lot of time on their phones doing something that is not particularly valuable. They're playing games, they're looking at BuzzFeed, they're scrolling through their Facebook news feed. So you need to think about things that are not so utilitarian when you're talking about what the value to the customer might be. There's more fun elements or social elements that you can start incorporating that are less, and also harder to figure out what those are, that are less utilitarian in value. So.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because a lot of people, when I ask about mobility tablets for the stores or cell phones for the customers, you know, they treat it like it's a PC, like it's an evolution of the laptop, like it's an e-commerce website. How many people have seen someone walk into a pole because they were texting or living on their cell phone too much? How many people have actually walked into the pole?
And they probably weren't shopping on their phone when they did that.
And then you look around like, did anyone see me? Right? But chances are there was a camera that's now on YouTube that took a picture of you. You know, it really is interesting. How many people leave the house and leave their wallet at home but go to work anyways? Okay. How many people leave their cell phone at home and go to work still? Or do you turn around and get your phone? I know several people that will go through jitters and be completely useless if they don't go home and get their cell phone. You know, mobility is interesting because while working with a recent retailer, he says, I want 7 things, but I don't want to give all 7 things to my consumer. I want to have an engagement process that says to them, what is it that's important to them, and only give them those 1 or 2 things, and then come back 3 months later and say, hey, how was that? Would you like something else? And the minute they say yes and they want it, you give it to them, but what they don't realize, it's already there. You know, it's interesting because a lot of companies are such in a rush to get mobile solutions in the field because they think it's going to be like the next saving grace, the chalice. But I would say it's the process in which we put mobility in place, the process in which we engage our consumers. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I kind of see that question in 2 parts. One is, can you put too much in the app? Yes, definitely you can. What we're seeing is the decoupling of applications. So going back to the Target presentation earlier too, it's making your app really meet one specific need for the user, making the app provide value, help them do something really streamlined and easy. So either they can perform a function easier, or maybe that app is a whole new entry point to your ecosystem. You're helping them. We see this with financial credit card companies. Is the app actually is a lifestyle partner? So it's travel information, it's small business information. They have different apps for all these different things. So you definitely can't put too much in one single app if you're trying to make it basically a mobile browser experience. The other thing that we've seen in talking to some retailers going to, is the app a point of diminishing returns? I haven't seen that. We've seen the apps be used in some places by the employees more than the actual user or the consumers, because the employees know how to use it, they know the features of it more. And we were talking to one retailer, and they were saying, we're really struggling with our app that's meant to be a companion for our shoppers in store. We're not seeing the conversion that we expected, and so we followed around their users, figured out what was going on, found out it's all the employees using it to help the consumers. So they're getting some benefit out of it, but not the benefit they were tracking to.
How many people travel, I don't know, 15 weeks out of the year? 30? 45? Okay. I remember when American Airlines first came out with their mobile app. And I walked up to the counter, and I went to use it because I'm a mobile guy. I'm supposed to be using apps, right? So I walk up, and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting because it wasn't working. The guy comes up to me and he goes, are you using the mobile app? I go, yeah, can you tell by my face? He goes, take 17 steps back. See that piece of paper hanging against the wall? Stand there. Load the app, then come back. It worked. I would say don't forget your people. Learn from them what your consumer interaction is, even if you have a mobile app. There's a lot of great data that mobility gives you. But I would say learning to engage your consumers and the people in the field that are interacting with them is extremely important. Any other questions?
The biggest one that we run into a lot is they can't attract the talent, meaning the staff, the people that they need to actually do that work internally. So that's a big reason that they come to firms like Solstice and Okta to do that kind of work. The other one is it's a little bit more of, I think, an emotional support component. They want to make sure there's someone else kind of validating that it's okay that they're entering some unknown space and that it's going to be okay, that there are practices, there is going to be an ROI. There's a lot of unknowns, but there is, for particular companies and retailers, some specific things they can be doing, and they're looking to some validation that that's the case. So that, like I said, there's a really big just some patting on the back. What you're doing is good. You're going in a good direction, and you're experimenting. You're doing the right thing that we provide.
Any other questions? Well, thank you. Appreciate your time.